Hi, this is Eli Ochiltree of the SnoKing Beekeepers Association. This is our monthly meeting. We are going to start with some announcements just until our speaker for tonight, our main speaker, comes. It will be Matthew Mulica. I have to ask him how to pronounce his last name, from Keystone Organization, which is a management policy type center that is managing the honey bee health coalition that has existed for a long time. So somebody flag me down, okay, interrupt me if he comes on, because I can't see everything on here.
I think you just did.
Oh,
Hello.
did you just make it on, Matthew?
I did. I apologize for being late.
Great. We are just starting the recording. I was going to say it's January 15th, 2026, and we are waiting for Matthew. Pronounce your last name.
It's Malika.
Malika. Okay.
We should probably correct that to July 15th, by the way.
What did I say?
January.
Okay. I'm really having senior moment here. Okay. So, I will stop sharing to screen them because you probably have some slides, right? That you would
I
rather show.
do.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then
I'm
anything
trying
we
to
need to
get.
put in chat too, we can put that in, and then in newsletters too. If you need me to include information in newsletters.
That
So,
sounds great. I will.
okay.
Hello, everyone. My name is Matt Malika. I am a mediator and a facilitator and not a beekeeper. But I hang out with a lot of beekeepers. And so I run the Honeybee Health Coalition. And so I'm going to pull up some slides here and kind of tell you about what we do um, and then answer any questions you have. So can you guys see that?
Yes. Maybe he's a future beekeeper.
Well, I had bees, but they all died. So I live in, let me get this thing going correctly. How's that?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So I work for an organization called the Keystone Policy Center. So we're up at 9,000 feet in the mountains. And so my organization was started in the mid 70s to, work on hard problems. And so, the classic story is back in the 70s, we brought up the president of Sierra Club and the president of ExxonMobil and said, hey, you guys might sue each other forever, but you might as well have a relationship and talk and try to figure some things out. And so I work on any number of projects. And back in 2013, we started the Honeybee Health Coalition. And so let's see if I get this to advance. And so the Honeybee Health Coalition, when we first started it, there was so many great pollinator initiatives going on, but there was not one that brought together the agricultural sectors with the beekeepers. And so we started meeting by, and I skip ahead a little bit here, but bringing together all of these crop associations and agribusiness and the U.S. government, all of these national and regional beekeeping organizations, with many, many other nonprofits. And we came up with our mission, which is to collaboratively implement solutions that will help to achieve a healthy population of honeybees, in the context of productive agriculture and thriving ecosystems. So it's kind of a mouthful, but we want it all. We think that you can have healthy bees, healthy crops, a good food supply, and that it just takes working together. And so we work on hive management, habitat, pesticides, and then a number of cross-cutting efforts. So we're about 50 organizations at this point. And I said I was a mediator. You can imagine bringing together the American honey producers, the American Beekeeping Federation, with Monsanto, Bayer, the EPA, the USDA, all of these other organizations. And initially, it was heated, right? I mean, these people had never really been in the same room together. You had your National Corn Growers Association, Almond Board of California. They had never had a relationship, probably didn't really want to before we came around. But we knew that we had to work together because what was occurring wasn't working. And so, we're now in 2026 and we're still here. And so, I'm going to tell you a little bit about our initiatives, but I'm really going to focus on all of our hive management initiatives. The things that we do for beekeepers to help improve the health of hives. So you have varroa management. It's a really, really big one. You all hopefully know that varroa is a parasitic mite. It reduces overall colony health. It infests and it spreads to other colonies. It is a major vector or transmitter of disease. And if your hive doesn't have varroa, it will. There's no isolating your hives. There's no keeping them out. They are ubiquitous across North America. And, you know, we really push for management of Varroa. We think that live and let die beekeeping is not a management strategy. That doesn't mean that you have to use chemical controls. There are cultural controls. There are all kinds of things, but we really stress that you have to do something. You have to know your mite counts. You have to get in there, and you know your bees are not going to evolve some way to treat themselves. There's of course there's genetics and good stock and these things that do really help. But knowing your levels and doing something and breeding is something is important. And so one of the first things we did was we came up with the Tools for Rural Management Guide. We have just released the 9th edition of this guide. So we've released the first one in 2015. And it's always the idea is that it is simple to use. It explains things in normal language. It's got wonderful pictures and graphs and guidelines, and it's meant to be very readable. It's always been free, and you can download it on our website. We also have videos and tables and the Varroa Management Decision Tool that can also be found all for free online. So in the Varroa Guide, you have background on varroa mites and their seasonal phases, the basics of IPM, which is Integrated Pest Management, instructions on varroa monitoring methods and how to interpret those findings, guidance on selecting control measures based on seasonal phase, and detailed information on chemical and non-chemical control methods. So, you know, how does a beekeeper manage for varroa soup to nuts? It's in this guide. You know, what's new in the 9th edition? I mean, let me back up by saying like the people that I'm a facilitator and a mediator. I've told you I'm not a beekeeper. But the people that put this together, it's authored by Dr. Dewey Karen, who is an amazing beekeeper and expert. And then all of these other experts from the EPA, the beekeeping federations, universities, extension. And so they have been continually updating this guide as new treatment methods come out, and frankly, as we learn more about how to control varroa. So we have clarified and updated instructions for sampling, updated treatment thresholds based on the most recent research findings. This guide is kind of where the treatment threshold for varroa lives in North America. And so you can see that, you
That's a
know,
lower
really.
threshold.
Yeah, we lower the threshold because you know, especially in these colony phases, it can take hold and the diseases get transmitted, and it's too late if you're waiting to 3%, 4%. Like you have to catch it early, and you have to monitor before and after those treatments. Um, and so that's all in there. We have 9 new chemical controls that have been registered. We preach and say that you should only be using registered treatments and control methods, and you shouldn't be trying things that someone tells you that is not registered for for honeybee colonies. We have one additional non-chemical control. We updated and reformatted the control options by seasonal phase table, and we streamlined it for quick reference. We reformatted all of the informational tables for all products based on a lot of beekeeper feedback. Like, you know, how can we make this simpler? Um, We have links to the EPA and the PMRA, that's the Pest Management Regulatory Agency of Canada, and product website will be hosted on the HBAC website. And we just really simplified things, simplified the application instructions and the clear conditions for use categories. Here is our drafting committee. And you can see, I'm not sure if you've ever seen any of these names, but I can tell you that they are amazing people that put in 18 months of their time of meetings every 3-4 weeks, and then a lot of homework in between. So these are the people that dug in, and then it got complicated, and then we said, how do we make it simpler while still being accurate? And so something like this could have been 100 pages, right? We don't want it to be 100 pages. We want to make it as short as possible, and that's what we've done. We have so I can stop there and just answer any questions about the guide before I go into like other things that we do. But has
Hey, the
anybody?
tool, some feedback, Matt. The tool looks pretty nice. It's clean, looks well designed, looks like you can kind of navigate your way through it. It's much better than other things that I've seen. So just some real-time feedback.
Thanks.
Looking through the tool and stuff makes good sense.
Mhm.
Anyway, didn't mean to interrupt you, but I thought you might want some
No,
positive
I
feedback.
thought yeah, it's great. I appreciate it. Others, have you seen it? Have you used it? Have you
I'm
scrolled?
looking at it now. That's why I went to
Yeah,
it.
Can you provide a link in the chat?
sure. Let's see. It's going to be,
Here, I can do it.
oh, cool. Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, and the page is all of our Varroa management and hive management things. We have the decision support tool. You ask 5 questions. So, are you open to synthetic treatments, or do you prefer just natural treatments? What phase is your honeybee colony in? Do you have brood present? Do you have honey supers on? And then it pops up. You hit the button, and it pops up every option that you have. And so, I know, what should I do? This is kind of complicated. So then you can go through that decision tree, and then you can then also click on the links, and you can get videos. Having a beekeeper walk up to the hive, and they're not yelling over their shoulder, "What I'm doing here is," like they're like, it's over, like it's narrated by someone, and they're all short. They're like 2-3 minutes. So if you want to learn how to use any of these treatments, including cultural treatments, we try to make it just really simple and straightforward. We also have the lists of all the registered chemicals or products that are on our website. So we keep that updated. I think we still have to put in 2026, but we try to take something that's really complicated and make it simple. Another thing that we really preach, I'm going to use that word again, is no off-label use. So we
Matt?
don't want people
Matt?
using Bobatraz or Tactic. Yeah,
Are you showing slides?
no.
Okay, good. I was gonna say, if you're showing slides, I thought you might be.
No, I
A
paused
lot
the
of
slide so
information. Okay.
we could just talk.
Okay, good. Because it's
Yeah.
not recorded, but I was going, that's a lot of information. Fast.
Yep. Others. Have you guys been using have you been treating? Have you been monitoring? Have you had success? I mean, even the best beekeepers, they try as hard as they can. They're gonna lose colonies to Varroa and other things, pesticides, lack of forage and nutrition. I mean, it's not, I would say that the secret sauce of the coalition of bringing all these people together is that we stopped arguing about, is it pesticides? Is it Varroa? Is it lack of forage and nutrition? No, it is all of those things. And we're going to work on all of those things equally. But arguing over which one has a greater effect wasn't doing anybody any good. Let's work on all of these things together.
So are you trying to combat the issue of the sprays that go on in the agriculture, say in the crops? around
Yes,
our area, because that affects the bees too. They
100%.
go to, they get on the flowers and the flowers have been sprayed. I don't spray
Yep.
my apple trees anymore, my pear trees. Nothing gets sprayed in my yard anymore.
Yep. Yeah, we are. So we have so every 3 years a pesticide applicator has to get recertified. They have to do what's called CEUs, Certified Education Units.
Yeah.
And so when they can take our course, which is, healthy bees and healthy crops, so they can learn how to do their job without impacting bees. Now, there's always going to be impacts, right? So we have 330 million people in this country. We have millions and millions of acres of corn and soybeans. You have uh, pest pressure where farmers could lose their whole crop, right? And so a lot of what we did when we first started this is we took farmers, we put them in bee suits, and we took them out there, and they learned about the issues that beekeepers had, and then we had beekeepers walking corn and soy and almond fields and saying, and they, you know what they said? Wow, we have very, very similar problems. We all have to deal with these pests that are trying to kill the things that we're trying to produce. And so there's not a ton of easy answers, but we have a lot of literature. So half about the things that we put together for beekeepers, and the other half are for growers. So we have, we have BMPs, which is best management practices for hives. We also have them for apple growers, canola growers, corn growers, and soybean growers. And then we have the pesticide applicator training. And so, yeah, it's a tough one. Like the problem is that no one's really breaking the law. Like sometimes you get bad actors, right, who like don't care and spray in the middle of the day. But I would say for the most part, those are few and far between. Like, I talk to a lot of farmers and they really do care. And they're just trying to control pests just like beekeepers are. So we're trying to meet everyone where they're at and not blame anybody. And that's a hard thing to do. Well, let me and like try like I love hard questions. So like give them to me. I'm gonna put my slides back up and go through some other things that we're doing. But if you have a burning question, who pays for all of this, right? Like any of that, it's all on the table. I love talking about it. Um,
No, I
and I'll
mean,
just tell you.
I've talked with my neighbors, right? So, I mean, just part of the thing of a previous bee program is talk with my neighbors, and they know I have bees, and so we talk about pesticide applications and time of days, and mornings and evenings and stuff, and that here the hives are located here, and they're welcome to come over and see them or what have you, and it's like reaching out and letting them know, because I mean they also see that the bees are on their crops pollinating their crops, and that there's actually a win-win situation here. Just a little courtesy about when you do things, and letting me know if you're going to do some dramatic thing, let me know so I can at least cover the hives or keep the bees under wraps for at least we get 12 hours or what have you, so we get the deterioration of the pesticide, so it's not going to hit the bees so hard.
Yeah. Yep. Using products with what we call lower residual toxicity,
Yep.
right? So the amount of time where it takes.
Lower R number, right?
Yep. Yep. So it's all listed on the label. Okay. So we do a lot of things. So I don't know that it's all in here, but if it's not, I'll bring it up. Let's see if this goes forward. So we're racing against Amatraz resistance. And so we've been working 12 years with almost every varroa researcher and product developer in the country in US and Canada. So it's called the VRTT, the Varroa Resistance and Testing Team. And so this is a group that meets and talks about weird things that you never think about, like how do you keep mites alive, right? So if you're testing different compounds on mites, you need to have live mites to test them on. So things that these scientists talk about are formulation, and they have all of these things that they're trying out. These are very, very much closed door meetings. I'm not allowed to invite beekeepers to these meetings. So all of my members are, all of the national leadership of beekeeping organizations, and some, leaders of large clubs, and I can't invite them to these calls because we name names about the things that all of these scientists are trying to find that will be the next, what we call the magic molecule that will kill a little bug on a big bug. We received a specialty crop research initiative grant in late 2024. It's about $4 million. And that all goes to hiring postdocs and getting these university and USDA laboratories funding to continue trying out new things in different ways. The Another thing that we're doing is we think that the federal government needs to help beekeepers. You might have heard of like the New World screwworm and the citrus greening worm. It's like there's these other pests in different crops, and the federal government helps those crops out by giving them money to control the crop, the pest. The federal government doesn't help out beekeepers much at all. We have ELAP if the bees die, but we're working to get what's called an area-wide pest management program so that the beekeepers aren't just on their own doing this, that we can provide them, at least a free treatment. This is for commercial beekeepers. If you have 5,000 hives, 10,000 hives, a free treatment when your mite levels are low can pay huge dividends throughout the year. So we're working on that. We are looking at tropolalaps. And so we facilitate the Tropy Prep and Response Working Group. These are researchers, apiary inspectors, federal officials, beekeepers, and we meet quarterly to talk about what is being done for research and response. We are developing state level trophy response plan toolkits. So if a new pest comes into the country, it's run by APHIS, the Animal Plant Health Inspection Service, and they're not allowed to really work on it until it gets here. At that point, it's really going to be too late. So we are working with the MP3 Working Group and Apiary Inspectors of America to develop state level like templates. So if you're Florida or Michigan or any state, you're not starting from scratch. You're not starting from a blank piece of paper for your tropolalaps preparation and response plan. We're going to give it to you on a silver platter. And you can adjust it as needed for your situations. Obviously, if you're in Iowa, it's very different than if you're in Florida. This pest will likely come through a port. It might come through an airport, but it's most likely going to come in on a ship. Can't fly there. And so we're working to make this as easy as possible for states. We're just at COLAS, and we are developing a tropolalaps primer. If you go to our tropolalaps webpage, it's in there. You could go to our website and find all this stuff. You can find out everything that we know about tropolalaps. It's in there. There's videos from Project APISM. Like if you want to do if you want to really learn about tropolalaps, we have a page where you can read about it, watch videos about it. There's a 2-page primer and a 6-page primer. So if you don't want to read the 6-page primer, read the 2-page primer because you don't have enough time to digest the 6-page primer. So we try to make it as easy as possible with different lengths and formats for learning. We work on federal conservation programs. So the USDA has CRP, EQIPS, CSP, all of these programs that will pay farmers, landowners to put in forage. But those programs could use some, adjustments. And so we've been making a lot of recommendations to the federal ag committees on how to make those programs better. We're working on this controversy of managed bees are having an outsized and negative impact on wild and native bees. Yes, that's true in a desert environment, for example, but in general, what we want is more forage in the landscape. And if you really dive into the research, people that are saying that managed bees are awful for native bees are cherry picking very specific data points and then generalizing it to North America. And so if you can see we just did a big article on bee culture about that. And then also like we need bees on our public lands, our Forest Service lands, our BLM lands. And right now, a lot of those offices won't let bees on, but they'll let sheep on. So they think that, bees are having this negative impact to wild bees, so they don't let them on our federal lands, but then they'll let sheep on that literally come through and bite the heads off every flower. So it just doesn't make sense. And so we're trying to figure out that, but the federal government's a big ship to turn. We maintain a library of BMPs for pollinator health, farmers, pesticide applicators, and they're co-developed with the commodity and farmer groups. There's a number of links. I can send you guys this presentation if you'd like. Back in 2025, when the heavy losses came out, what we learned to be over 60%, we brought together the Domestic Losses Steering Committee. So this is, Apiary Inspectors of America, USDA, the American Beekeeping Federation, the American Honey Producers Association, Project APISM, the Almond Board of California, like everyone who had like needed to be in like the control operating room of, oh my gosh, what just happened? Why did it happen? And what are we going to do about it? We brought all of those people together and we're meeting weekly over those months in right at the beginning of 2025 when these catastrophic losses were happening. We were like the the response center. We've also been bringing together beekeepers. So, there's this strange thing that happens where these different groups, they all have the same interests, but they don't really communicate or, walk together into senators' offices in DC. So you have American Beekeeping Federation, the honey producers, and then up in Canada, you have the Canadian Honey Council and the Canadian Beekeeping Federation. And so we said, why don't we just come up with a statement of interest where what are the things that we can all agree on? And so that took 18 months of meetings to get them all to put down on paper. These are the things that we all agree need to happen to improve bee health in North America. And since then, we've brought in the Honeybee Expo, Cayman Reynolds, and this guy Charles Linder with Bee Cause Alliance. And now we meet quarterly to just talk, share notes, communicate, make sure that their conferences aren't on the same dates, things like that. And so there wasn't really this line of communication between these federal or associations for beekeepers. And so we've created that. And that's what that last bullet is. We're member funded. So, if you're the EPA, you can't really give us any money. If you're universities, you can't, but all of these other organizations, if you saw that big list, 75% of those organizations give us money. As I said, I work for everybody. I'm a mediator. So I set up a democratic system for these people to elect people to the steering committee. We have annual meetings, one virtually, one in person. Those in-person meetings is where we get out in the field, and that's when we're putting growers in bee suits and putting beekeepers walking the fields and really trying to grow understanding at the same time rolling up our sleeves and working on these initiatives, and saying what else is needed, how else can we help. And after 12 years of my life doing this, 62% of the bees died last year. So obviously there's a lot more work to be done. As I said, I work for the Keystone Policy Center. We're a 501c3 nonprofit. You can visit our website there. We do have a donate button on our webpage. Like every little bit helps. We run this thing on a shoestring budget. And so anything that you guys can do to, reach into your pocketbooks is helpful. But what I care more about is that you use the resources that we develop. You know, it's for you, it's all free, and we're doing it to have healthy bees, and that's all I got.
Wow, thank you. We really appreciate it. And I wouldn't be surprised there's still some more questions coming in. Yeah, that's I'm glad you're keeping it going because Honeybee Healthy sorry, put the Y there. Honeybee Health Coalition has been going the whole time I've been a beekeeper, actually longer, but it kept changing and it would fall behind and then somebody would update it and then it would fall behind, somebody would update it. So I'll
That was
have to
me.
look at this
That was my
last
fault.
updating. No, well, it just, funding, lot of funding. And like you said, everybody's going in a slightly different direction and getting them to talk to each other is just wonderful. That's a
Yeah,
really good goal because there's so many little organizations out there.
yeah. A lot of our work's being used in extension now, and but yeah, ask me some questions. You guys probably know more about beekeeping than I do, but I may know a little bit more about bee health than you. But
Do you, do you really think the 60% that they talked about really happened in small beekeepers and small scalers who were watching their hives and really monitoring them a lot better?
it was, yeah, there was a lot of the big commercial beekeepers, but it was everyone who answered the surveys. And
Yeah.
so we weren't going out there like, lifting frames. This was the surveys were whoever answered. And yeah, I know a lot of commercial beekeepers. It's my job to know a lot of commercial beekeepers. Some of them did okay, a lot of them didn't. And there's been a lot of conglomeration of the industry for those that didn't, who just couldn't muster the strength to get back in it, and they sold their operations. So yeah, I think it was 60% plus. It was a big hit.
But for the small scale or hobbyists, I mean, I've never had those kind of losses. There would have to be a really good reason to have that.
It it was
Because
it
we
was
watch and we monitor better. Well, this club does really promote, I think, Varroa treatments more than other clubs. I'm not sure. It's hard to compare. Okay, Jen's kind of just going, yeah, we try harder and we've been trying to come up with a decision tree. And past Honey Bee Health Coalition decision trees, I didn't see as useful
mhm.
because the first thing is you have to go, why aren't people treating for Varroa? And and I think a decision tree has to start with, are you against acids? Or will you only use a botanical, like essential oils? I take a different approach when I'm talking about it. And I think I'm the person who talks the most about Varroa, and I'm tired of talking about Varroa. But we have our own chart. And if you look back at our monthly meetings, every year we cover it at least once and go through the 7. You listed 9, but 2 of them are Canadian. The 7 treatments with Amatraz, I took it off the list a long time ago because beekeepers were innocently relying on it, and our beekeeping supply stores were still pushing it at us long after it was failing, and you couldn't tell which hive was going to fail with because
Mhm.
some strains of mites hadn't been selected as much as others. Up in Canada, where they totally relied on it, apparently it was just overwhelming what they did in Canada. The commercial beekeepers, that's what they used was Amatraz.
Yeah, I would say that what changed a lot this year is the virulence of the disease. So you had
Yeah.
deformed wing virus, an acute paralysis virus, and then you had this widespread Amatraz resistance, and so the bees didn't have any more defense. And then you get them together, and they transmit those diseases in almonds, and it led for the perfect storm. It was just these straight, just like the flu, right? So like some years we have bad flu, some years it's not that bad. Just like in bees, the strains of those viruses were awful. They were deadly. Um, it's just like when you bite into a jalapeno and you never know if it's going to taste like a green pepper or it's going to burn your mouth off, right? Like that year, those diseases. That was actually a really bad analogy. But but you know what I mean? Like it was that it's just like the flu or COVID or anything, and when you're not as healthy, and then you get these diseases, you can't fight them off. Other questions, thoughts, conversations?
How do you feel about supplemental feeding, like adding, I don't know, extra vitamins and stuff to sugar water?
I think it's needed. So we actually have a supplemental feeding guide. And so let me just throw the link in the chat. So, yes, supplemental feeding is important.
Dr. Basu worked on that, I think.
Dr. Priya Basu, a good friend of
Yeah.
mine.
Yeah, I think she worked on that, and because she's involved with WSU, she's now there, the lab
Yep.
there. They gave out, I think, copies of it at the last Washington State Beekeepers Conference.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I was just in Pullman, 2 weeks ago for COLOS,
Mm-hmm.
and I facilitated the development of this guide. And it was with Priya. Priya was our Dr. Basu was our primary author.
And some of us are helping with the pollen collection study for the National Pollen
Oh,
Act,
great.
you know.
Awesome. Yeah, but Jen, like I don't know, I'm not a beekeeper, right? So like I think I kind of just rely on what the experts say. And I think there's a time and a place to do it, and especially important if you have a dearth of forage, right? So if it's a wet spring and like you've flowers everywhere and like you've got great honey flow later on, like maybe you don't need it, but if those conditions aren't perfect, then yeah, your bees need a little help. And it also goes through like what works and what doesn't. Man, when this came out, I lost a lot of friends, right? People that sold this stuff that I was like, I know I published this, but like I'm not a scientist. I'm a social scientist. So like I'm not responsible for what the science says. Like they did research on this, they tested it. And so a lot of people never stop calling me because we like put their product in the do not recommend lane.
Well,
It was
probiotics and prebiotics, they're not very well proved, right? So those ones, they got a lower rating, didn't they? I've been reading
I,
research
I
papers
couldn't tell
recently,
you.
but I think pretty much it's hard to take mammalian probiotic and prebiotic supplements and try to use them in bees because the digestive system of the colony is actually in certain age bees. They actually do
Hmm,
the digestion for the entire colony.
that
The
makes sense.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's
They
like,
specialize. Bees specialize, They
yeah,
just
it's about the mode of action. Maybe it works in some
mhm.
animals, but there's some insects, but not in others. And if bees were cows, we'd be a lot further ahead, right? Because there's been so much research and like, understanding how they work. I mean, obviously cows are bigger, but bees, we're just really understanding their genome.
I have one really random question since you kind of were getting people together. If beekeepers were to actually kind of get more organized and maybe get more in the political world, what would you want us to be fighting for or
Well,
get together for?
you guys are, so if I would say participate in HPA or ABF because they both have lobbyists. And one of my goals is to get those lobbyists together so that we're walking in with the same message. Every year they do surveys of all of their members that say, what should our lobbyists be working on? And they go through and then they don't just say it's not a blank sheet of paper. There's a list. Check all the boxes that you care about. And so I think the most expedient way, instead of you all walking into Washington, is to be members of and participate in ABF and HPA because Eric Silva and Fran Boyd they have great relationships with these congressmen and congresspeople.
Yeah, I actually joined ABF after I heard him talk at the conference because I was like, I didn't realize how much they did.
They do
It's
so
pretty
much.
impressive. Yeah.
Yep. But they should be walking in with the same message. Like how confusing it would be if you're, the senator from North Dakota and 2 weeks apart, two different lobbyists walk in and they have slightly different messages, but they're not really on the same page. It's kind of confusing. You're like, it's not going to do anything. But if we walk in with the same message, and we have a unified front and hopefully walk in side by side, then I think that is how we gain power as an industry.
On a state level, there are state lobbyists, I would hope, in other states. We're really lucky. We have a state legislative representative or something. I think is what we call Tim Hyatt. And he's probably involved with ABF and
Oh yeah, no,
and
Tim is
yeah,
Ti-
he's
Tim
like,
is Tim is Tim is one of 5 brothers. It's the
yeah,
Hyatt brothers, and
yeah,
so
and he's
yeah,
outstanding. He's a great
outstanding.
speaker. He's gotten like 3 different things through the state legislature that
Mhm.
you know, we need to nominate him for Beekeeper of the Year award, incidentally.
You should.
But I want to help write it up because the state, the largest state association we have in Washington State, really uses his services a lot. We get a lot
Yep.
out of that. He does by himself more than anybody else in the state of Washington.
Yeah, he's a great thinker. He
And
listens.
I know, he's incredible. I just,
Yep.
having met him at the conferences and stuff,
Yep.
he's the kind of person that, yeah, he's going to be really good at doing it.
Mhm. Well, anything more? I know we're a little over time. Sorry I was late. I was at my kids' like camp skit, and I couldn't leave. I was like, I have to wait to see my son up on
You got to be
stage.
there.
Mhm.
Cannot miss
Yeah, I
those
had
things.
to. I was like, I gotta go to this call, but I really want to see him on stage.
Did they do the invisible bench skit?
So,
Yeah.
well, use our resources, donate if you've got some extra money. We really need it. I
Yeah.
work for a tiny nonprofit. And yeah, I mean, we'll keep on fighting the good fight.
Well, that's great.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much for doing all that, as well as coming today and being available.
Yes.
Yeah,
I wouldn't miss it.
that's
Yeah,
really,
and Eli, when we talk about the fair and stuff, it'd be good to have some of these things there too, right?
yeah,
For beekeepers that come
Mhm.
through and do the drive-by.
yeah. I don't know if you do free brochures or anything, but we could put something up.
We're
poster.
trying to get a store going. So, if you order one Varroa guide, it's like $14 because but if you order 10,000 of them, then it's like $3. So we're trying to order the 10,000 and then pass those savings down to you all,
Yeah.
like the economies of scale. So that because we know clubs could never buy 10,000,
No.
but if we got a bunch of people together, we could buy 10,000, then offer the lower price to you. So we're working on that.
And the conferences could do that. That's the kind of thing that we could maybe we could get our largest state association to do something like that. It's possible. They might do it. So that's the kind of thing we could approach them on too.
Yep.
Well,
Wonderful.
thanks a lot. Yeah. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, Matt.
Yeah. Thank
No,
you.
Yeah.
appreciate your time, and I think this it'd be. Do you have? I mean, the other thing is do you have a little banner or something that that the link that that we could put up in a small tent type, the pop-up stand type thing that would just kind of point to your name and
Something we could print poster size.
yeah, poster size
something
just to
high enough
have so we can
resolution.
point people to it, but because people take people going to the fair or something will take their camera and take a shot of it, then they can go home and go look it up, right? Because we
Yeah, I
talked with
think
various
a
beekeepers,
QR
some that are
code.
not a member of our club, but they still want to know the latest and talk about Varroa or something like that, and they've got this nightmare story. It's like, hey, go here to this site. They've done a really quality job of discussing the issues and the alternative approaches that you can take.
Yeah, I mean, I think
That way we can
um
scale your reach a bit.
yeah, the QR code I think would be best.
That's fine too.
Um
Yeah.
that would maybe I'll just forward these slides over to you guys and you can pull the QR code off of my last slide on my slide deck.
That would work.
Yeah.
But it's
I
really
appreciate
easy.
it.
If you have a brochure that's already, it has a nice picture on it, something, and we could put the QR code on that. We can print up something that's like 2 by 3 feet or something. It's not that expensive to do.
Mhm.
If
Yep.
you might, because like Xerxes and the others, you know, they kind of all have come up with something that you can put out there.
Sure.
You know, if you
Yeah.
happen to have anything, somebody might have an idea or already
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
something that just automatically would
Yeah,
print out.
because that season's coming up right now, and if you want to increase the reach, that's the way to do it.
It's a
Right?
great
Make it
idea.
easy for people to get access to the information they need, but not necessarily have to carry around with them at the fair, especially, you know, they take a picture of the QR code, they got it.
Yeah, maybe if I just got my graphic designer to put together something that you could then send to your printer and
Yeah,
print it
exactly.
on some
Yeah.
print it
Yep.
on some one of those vinyl
That's
posters.
exactly it.
Oh, I
Yeah,
love that idea. Love it.
yeah, and it just, yeah, that's the easiest way for us to get something out. I mean,
Yep.
we put stuff in
Okay.
the newsletter and stuff, but to be honest
Yeah.
with you, people just do that QR code thing if
Yeah.
they're interested. And if
Right.
they see a picture right next to it, they go, okay, yeah.
You know,
Mhm.
they take it home with them. I got it.
Yep, I love it.
Low
Okay.
cost of materials for you, high reach, and extends the reach, and it's something that we could do relatively easily.
Like we have an 11-day fair booth in Monroe, which is
Yeah.
technically the state fair that's officially the
The
state.
agricultural state fair, yes.
Yes, it's the real
Mhm.
agricultural one. And then we have booths at the statewide conference with Tim Ade, for example.
Mhm.
Yeah, we could make
Well,
sure.
then you had a booth
there.
at the lavender thing here, what, a
Oh,
week
that
ago or two?
fell through this year, but we had it last year and we'll do it next
Okay.
year.
Okay,
Yeah, we're gonna do it for sure.
Okay.
Jen's going,
That
yes.
sounds great. Let
But
me, I could
We
probably
can
get
put
that
stuff
done by
like
next
that
week.
up. They'll give
that'd
us
be
10
great,
by
because
10.
Matt, that way it's
Stick.
easy for us, it's consistent with the what layout that you want, and it carries, you know, the link to,
What would it say on it? Would it say, visit the Honeybee Health Coalition for
Check out.
free,
Yeah,
free beekeeping resources?
yeah.
Yeah.
And then you can even
With
put
just a
separate
QR
words
code
like
or
varroa, nutrition,
right, yeah.
treatment free. You can even put treatment free, which is a little controversial there, but cultural, you know, that there's
Yep.
other ways to do it than chemicals. So
Yep.
you
Yeah.
can put a lot of attention grabbers. Yeah, ask somebody, you already have
Right.
this stuff. You already have your logo
Here,
and your,
you know, here's a link to the resources, right?
Mhm.
And that, just keep it simple, right? Here's a link to the
Yeah.
resources and a QR code.
I probably wouldn't
it
put
up.
treatment free on it.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm
a little
saying.
bit-
I would just say,
that's
here's a link to the
cultural
resources.
practices.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep. Right on. Well, thank you all so much. I don't know what my thing's doing. Oh, Mike's whiteboard. Mike's get it going.
Oh. Which bike?
I'm not sure. But I actually do have to go out to. There's
Yeah.
a
Okay.
dance that I'm like chaperoning. But hey, Mike, if you've got some design skills, send it over to me. I'll you know, that sounds great.
Okay.
Thank you all so much for your time.
Right.
I really appreciate you and have a great night.
Thank
Thank you.
you. Bye.
Thanks.
Okay. I don't know which bike this is.
It's like AI or something.
Yeah, I
I-
don't either. It popped up
Oh,
on my
it's probably an
screen.
AI type thing. Can I
Yeah,
get rid of it? Close it.
there
Okay.
you go. Thank
I don't
you.
know how that happened.
'Cause I'm trying to get rid of
Okay.
it myself, but
Then
yeah.
that was great. It really was. Even though I still think the way we approach varroa treatments and we talk about what will you use and what will you not use first. They always want to talk about brood. We have brood 11 months of the year here. Don't tell me that there's a brood, something I should treat at a brood free period, because it's useless. It has to be absolutely frozen around here for it to not have brood. So that question always drives me nuts. I don't like the decision chart, but it's still probably improved from where it was, because it was pretty rudimentary back years ago. So it's interesting that he's been working on it all this time. That's interesting. Yeah. I'll have to read the simplified, he thinks it's simplified, that table for each one of the treatments alone. And I don't know. I don't know if that works. But I tried to crowd it on one page and you've seen that. It's not better. It's really tiny fine print. So, you know, maybe a combination, but I would love it to put up a poster at the fair. Okay, so I don't know how many people are actually interested. But I wanted to point out how to do fair entries. And in the chat, I already put that in the link to the best, I think it's the 2023 that Tim Ade, who is the supervisor for the Evergreen State Fair, which is that 11-day fair that is our biggest opportunity to advertise our club and also to get together. Because if we get like 3 people on every shift and then people meet at shift changes and some people are coming for multiple times, if that happens, then you end up meeting a fair number of people that you have heard of, you've kind of met quickly online. Yeah. So I was gonna go through that. Did anybody rather discuss something else? Because you can go watch the video, but sometimes people don't realize how easy it would be to enter the fair, and you're almost guaranteed a ribbon, actually.
I had a
Um,
question about the varroa treatments before we jump into the other
Okay.
topic, if that's all right.
Yeah.
So I was going through that through the website that they posted, and it said like if you have brood, like you were saying, right, like
Yeah.
oxalic acid vapor is not recommended. I
So
don't
mad when
fully
they
get
say
it.
that. I get
Can
so
you-
mad when they say that because they make a big point of it doesn't penetrate the cappings. Nothing else penetrates the cappings except Naroa being ingested by the
Well, formic acid
larvae.
does, doesn't it?
The brand new one, the Naroa that they did, and it gets ingested by the larvae, that might work under the cappings, but nothing works under the cappings except formic acid. So they make a big point of this, and it's like they repeat it like a mantra, and I'm so sick of hearing it.
Yeah, but even for the oxalic acid vapor, like if you just did it in like say 3-day cycles for like 5 or 6 treatments, you will get it all eventually,
yeah,
wouldn't you?
you just have to space it better.
Right.
Repeated spacing, repeated applications is considered one of the most innocuous in terms of harm to the bees. But we don't know the mechanism of action. We don't know the MOA. That's the odd thing about it.
Right.
But it is one of the least lethal things you could do. It doesn't cause, for example, a lot of the essential oils will induce supersedure. They cover up the queen's pheromones, so they can cause a little bit of trouble. Formic acid is lethal if it's done at all wrong. The temperature's wrong, the ventilation's wrong. You do it in too small of a hive. It's not to be done in less than 10 frame deep size hive. And if you kill the queen or cause her to be superseded, like late in the year, you may not have time to realize that you are queenless going into the winter. There's dangers to formic acid, and it's the big, big one for commercial beekeepers. Having said that, the thing they're not saying outright about formic acid is it also seems to discourage or kill tracheal mites. And it may discourage or kill nosema because it's very volatile and it goes into the breathing tubes system of the bees. So that's part of why the formic acid is so big with the commercial beekeepers. So, but I'm so sick of hearing this mantra of oxalic acid doesn't penetrate the cappings. Well, none of the others do either, except Naroa would be ingested by the larvae. It would be in their system. And then Varroa that fed on them under the cappings. Okay, then that one would have an effect. But all of the others don't penetrate the cappings.
And formic pro does, doesn't it? Like
It does, and it kills larvae and eggs and often queens.
oh, larvae too. Okay, good.
Yes,
Oh,
it's
okay.
lethal to the bees as well as but if you balance it right, and if you're a commercial beekeeper, this is where it really zigs and zags. If you're a commercial beekeeper and you know that it's going to kill some queens or cause some to be superseded, and then might get a poorly mated queen you don't really want. If you know that, you simply do it at the time of the year that you've got your queens on order. There are
That makes
commercial
sense.
beekeepers who requeen every year or every 2 years anyway. So they just formic acid right before they do that. They know they're going to requeen. But we don't usually strategize and think that way as hobbyists. We could do that. Yeah, I don't know. The decision tree is the thing that bothers me the most about it, because in this area, temperature is our number one concern. Forget whether or not it goes under the cappings, since only formic acid does. But formic acid is the one that really kills queens. Occasionally, not often. And I think they said it often kills the older queens. I'm thinking the young ones are more robust and do better. There's one age that's better than the other if you read the literature and you read the comments. So I don't know. Yeah, they'll say that's where somebody who was a beekeeper would stand up and scream and holler and say, wait a minute, you keep repeating this and it doesn't make any sense that you're repeating it. But it does relate to an old EPA caveat that oxalic acid was not to be used when there was brood in the hive. We couldn't use it in Western Washington. That was one of the very first EPA statements on oxalic acid for use by commercial beekeepers that came out. We knew that there was no money to be made in researching oxalic acid. It's like they have that wonderful possible fungus that might eat varroa mites and not bees. Jennifer Hahn was working on it. They kicked it off to somebody else. It's going to die, even though it's a very good project. The reason it's going to die out is because there's no money in it. Once you have this and could easily put it into hives, there's no money to be made. You can't keep, there's no consumables every year once you get this established.
Got it. Does that kind of also explain the one EPA or FDA certified oxalic acid like cost
Apibioxol.
being like 1,000 times more than just the generic?
Well, EPA, that gets into this discussion of the FDA and the EPA, and there's a possible food contamination issue. So it kind of comes under the FDA and in protecting the environment too, protecting the beekeeper, the bees, and the whole environment, then the food supply. So it kind of gets tangled up really quickly. And it's the most egregious case of the beekeepers just did what they did for years, and we have ignored the EPA for better or for worse. You can argue about it. Cameron Jack is now validating it in research. So all of you have been, sitting without any repentance. You're now being validated by Cameron Jack's research. Up to 4 grams per deep. But beyond that, he says 5 grams per deep. He hasn't seen it, that it improves back where he is, which is Georgia, I think. I think it's University of Georgia or Florida. And he's written actual research papers on this. But is it worth anybody paying zillions of dollars to get it through the EPA regulatory process? I don't know if anybody here has ever experienced trying to get something through a regulatory process. I have a 9-month certificate in clinical trials, which is really FDA type stuff, what you can put into the body and what you can do. And it's a nightmare. A new drug is actually, that's why they cost so much money. And it just gets, your brain just starts to burst. But that's a whole nother topic. So this mantra about oxalic acid, there's something wrong with it. I don't understand, because it is, I can't find any case of it's not the best thing out there. But you get tired of doing it, don't you? I mean, it takes repeated, it's organic. Anything that's gentle, organic is more labor, more repetitions. Can use it all year round. Less benefit, all year round. Should we get on to does anyone want to talk about the fair entries? I'll do it as quickly as I can. Okay, I'll do it as quickly as I can. The varroa treatments, though, I always like to do at least one good talk about it each year. We're running into the fair, though, and I haven't done it. So I have past ones on the monthly meetings, and there's some discussion where people are talking and asking questions about it. Okay, so let me share screen really fast. And if anybody wants to put something in the chat and wants to, okay, hopefully everybody sees the slideshow. And oops, wait, I'm back. I gotta find where I'm going back. Okay. And to do fair entries is actually so easy. And Tim Ade begs us to do fair entries every year. And you don't have to do just honey. And you can get a lot of certificates and have award-winning honey. And as somebody once said, they didn't want to be gifted a quilt until it was entered the fair because they wanted to have the ribbon that went with it. I mean, it's kind of fun. And it does recognize you as a beekeeper. So you go in to do hive products, as open class, which means you don't belong to the FFA, the FH, the FFA, Future Farmers of America, anything like that. 4-H, that's the other thing I was thinking of. Okay. And it's really easy to do. You can enter online, and actually it's recommended you enter online, especially if you want to try for the largest or best turnip and the best melon and the best whatever. It takes a long time to stand in line and fill out a form for each one of those entries. If you're going honey and hive products, and here's Tim Ade's name right here. I'm going to show you a picture in a little while. If you don't know who Tim is, he's that sweetie that runs the whole indoor, outdoor, everything bee related at the fair, including supervising our booth. And if there's one error on it, though, he said the judging is only going to be on Saturday. And I remember I have at least 2 people that have told me they want to judge already. I don't remember if a third person has told me, if you want to judge, you have to, it counts for journeyman service credits, and it is a really good experience. I don't know if there's a third opening, but email me if you are interested, because I've got to go back and check. There will be 2 days you can drop off deliveries. So reading all this fine print, I know you can go get your own copy, but the important thing is they're going to have 2 drop-off days for honey. And it is something you kind of have to take it in person, and you have to get it there at least by the Saturday before the fair, August 22nd. And you can drop it off during the day. There's some caveats about dropping it off, because it makes you want to cry when somebody did a great job of packaging their honey, and then somebody at the last minute turns it upside down, puts fingerprints all over the glass jar. I'm going to talk, and Tim likes to talk about that, things that go wrong, and then your entry gets marked down points because you thought you just send somebody over. One of the ones that made him cry was the husband who'd been sent over to hand the honey, and he twisted the cap down really hard, and he put his fingerprints all over it. They're not allowed to clean up the jar for you. So you get there and you wipe it clean and hand it to them, and they handle it with gloves, literally. But extracted honey is the one people think of the most. Now, I said you can win a lot of prizes. Well, you don't just have extracted honey. You have 8 chances to win a prize in extracted honey, each color that is recognized by something called the Jack scale. And you can enter 8. You can enter all these categories for your honey. Using the right kind of jar and taking just a few precautions. So it's really easy to get a 1st or 2nd place ribbon. Chunk honey. A lot of people, I can picture that in case you haven't thought of entering that, or creamed honey. A chunk honey, you have a piece of beautiful comb, and you put it in the jar, and you surround it with the extracted honey, pour it all around. It looks gorgeous. It's a really neat way to sell honey too. Comb honey, from the frame to you've cut out some little sections of honey in the comb, which is super gourmet right now. And you can do it in Ross rounds, half comb cassettes, and which is a system that if you're interested in comb honey, I can explain it, and other people who've done it here can explain it. You could do anything in beeswax. It can be just a block of beeswax. It can be candles, all this. Okay, so going through this is, you can enter these online, as I was saying. Then, wait a minute, did I jump? No, I want to make sure I didn't jump. Oh, I did jump. Here's that color scale. You can enter one, you have to enter 3 jars at a time, but you can enter all of these categories. Doing it online is a little bit easier. If you can't figure the color according to that Jack scale I flashed at you really quickly, don't worry, they'll help you when you get there and put it in the correct category. Pollen. This is one that some of us are already collecting pollen for the Washington National Pollen Atlas. And I was thinking, you know something? My bees overproduce pollen in the late July, early August dearth every year. Why don't I collect some of it and enter it? I think that'd be a great thing to do. There's a gadgets thing. You can enter something that like 3D printing is really big right now for the perfect entrance reducer, or a little feeder thing, or something like that, or shim. There's a heaviest frame. You just pick up a frame, and you can enter one of each. What's called a true shallow, a Western. You notice they use the word I use. People make fun of me, but a shallow and a Western are not the same. Then there's And then there's a slightly larger 3/4 depth, which I have never used, and then a deep frame. And so there's different, you can get the biggest frame you can get. There's some tricks to that. It's like a milk-fed pumpkin. And then there's educational displays. And educational displays are a good way to keep your kids busy. Okay, honey, put all you want to enter the fair, do a poster of the parts of the bee or how bees pollinate or something. Great homeschool project. Now, I'm just going to talk about what Tim says at this, and I put it in the chat, this video. It was 2023 that he basically did it. And he explains, this is what's called a queen line jar. You don't have to have a queen line jar, but you have to have a jar with smooth sides that a light can be shown through, and they're going to, a refractometer, and they're going to measure it and see if it really is honey. Water content. I think that's the main thing they check by specking. They can also check water content by taking out a drop. They might be doing purity. I think this might be a purity test. It can be used for both. Sugar content, water content, and then for purity. Little pieces of wax or something that get in the way. He's showing you, if Tim's showing you a queen line jar. It doesn't have to be queen line. It can be anything that will hold 1 pound of honey, which is like about 11 ounces, maybe 11.5. And so it could be a jar. Tim got these from Uline. Smooth sided. You can't use a canning jar because the print and such gets in the way of the light beam going through. Then he explains, you need to not be slack filling and not be overfilling. What's slack filling? If you may have heard it, you know, when you're selling something honestly, you don't want to ever underfill a jar, even in a way that's deceptive. Like if this had a big lid that came down for 1 inch and you had 1 inch of space there and you didn't put the honey in there, that'd be wrong. So he's pointing out in this, Tim is pointing out that the bottom ridge of jars is where you are supposed to be filling the honey to. He actually recommends that you fill a little farther than that because he has some tricks he tells you about in that video. And if you've ever thought about presenting your honey, he's showing you again here. This is on the queen line jar, any jar. It's that bottom ridge is the one you're supposed to fill to. And when you fill to that, he actually recommends that you overfill a little bit. This is a wrong jar. He actually has it in because this is a canning jar with that interference, that raised letters and such that would never work. The shape of the jar, he's not picky about it, but you have to be able to get the beam of light through it. And yeah, with that raised lettering, it's not going to work. But he was showing how you would take a jar and could even transport it to the fair using saran wrap for a couple of purposes. The first thing he does is when you take your honey to the fair, it's going to have that beam of light shot through. You don't want any floaties in it. You want to have left it at about, if you can, like 80 degrees for, you fill the jars. You want the bubbles to rise. Whenever you pour honey, there's always a little bit of air trapped. If you've just extracted it, there's some little wax bits or something, and they will slowly rise. Especially if you leave them in a warm place, they'll rise up and they make this kind of scum on the top. Well, if you put a piece of saran wrap and you kind of push it down a little right onto the surface, sort of like when you're making pudding and you don't want it to form a skin. Well, in this case, you push it right down on the surface. And then when you go to pull it off, right before you you take it to the fair, you will pull off. He's pushed it down. Now he's taken it off. And when he pulled it off, he actually, on that saran wrap, all that wax, if you lift it gently, comes off. All the little scum that would have interfered with the appearance of the honey comes off. If you overfilled, you now can take a little bit of honey out to get it to exactly that bottom ring on the jars. It's well worth watching this if you're seriously thinking about it. But all these things are points. Let's see. What can you actually get disqualified for? You can't shoot the beam of light through. I think that's a disqualification. But almost everything else is you get judged on a point. Did you manage to get clear honey of a certain color? Because you'll be only judged against the other ones of that color. Did you get the impurities out enough? But that's points. Is it in the correct size jar? If you don't submit 3 jars of a pound each, you get knocked down points for the if you don't get exactly a pound, it's close, fairly close to it. But if you don't submit 3 jars, they can't really even judge you. It's one of the basic requirements. That's a disqualification. You can't have honey on the top of the lid when you turn it over. Now, you wouldn't use a canning jar lid. No, I don't think you would. Well, there's no really, you couldn't use a canning jar lid, but you don't want any honey on it when you deliver it. This is one of those, if somebody else delivers it, don't let them turn it upside down or tilt it or anything. And right before you hand it in, if you you've taken out the first saran wrap with the scone. If you take another piece of saran wrap and you put it stretched tight over the top and then put your lid on, when you get to the fair, if any honey somehow ended up would have been on the bottom of the lid, it's now on that saran wrap. And you can unscrew the cap, take that saran wrap out, and you have a clean underside of the lid. These are points. You don't disqualify your honey, and you may still be the best in the category of paper white or ultra dark knotweed. So you could still get a prize, but it does knock you down points. And then he goes quickly through wax. Wax has to be 1 pound or more. Doesn't have to be a particular shape. This is very nice with the cute little beeswax imprint on it. It can be any shape at all, but it has to be 1 pound or more. Then it should smell like wax. It shouldn't be so processed it's lost all its smell. It should, what else did he say? It should be a good color, purity. You don't see anything in it. It should not have pollen. It should have been strained. They say a t-shirt works pretty well. And a sweatshirt, which I think you would leave a lot of honey in, but a sweatshirt fabric being strained through that is even better, apparently, even a finer strain. If you have that much honey, or that much wax. So that was beeswax. And then there's candles. If you do dipped, I think it says 2 a pair. Pure beeswax. You're not supposed to have anything else in them. Not dyes or color tints or anything. Pure beeswax. 4 ounce total weight between the 2 candles. Any kind of novelty item stuff, it's got to be 4 ounces worth. All of these types of wax submissions you can make are 4 ounces. A rolled candle, oh, they did say 2 ounces for rolled candles for a pair. A rolled candle is you take beeswax type foundation and you roll it up. You may have seen those are done as a craft project sometime. So that is the one that does drop to 2 ounces for 2 of them. You have a pair to show that you are in control of how you can do it. You can reproduce it, what you did. Novelty items are kind of fun. You can use wax as part of something else too. You can put wax into candy molds, silicone candy molds or something, but it has to come out pretty much, except for that last one, and except for 1 single block, to the 4 ounces total weight. So if you did like candy molds, you need enough there that it makes 4 ounces. Oh, and the largest comb, the best looking comb of capped honey. Okay, Tim is pointing here to the fact that this one didn't completely cover the frame. But you know how you sometimes pull out a frame of honey and it is to all the corners, all the sides, gorgeously even, just looks absolutely gorgeous and perfect. You can, he recommends freeze it first, then wrap it in saran wrap, save it for the fair, and then take it on the day of the fair. And there's actually, is it in the next one? The next page, there's actually heaviest frame, which I mentioned quickly before. It should be capped, should not be dripping. That's part of it. Freezing it and getting it saran wrapped and storing it safely in the freezer. That's one you might just do because, and it's only one frame in that case. You're not trying to come up with 3 jars. I want to try the pollen. Whoops, at the top there. Pollen, 4-ounce jars. When properly dried, it should fill a 1-pound glass queen line jar. Which would be really pretty just to show off. Shouldn't smell moldy, shouldn't stick together. Shouldn't be so dry that it crumbles. These are the pollen pellets that you can catch in a pollen trap. Okay, that's the basics on the entries. It is incredibly easy. You can bring them in person. Since there's 2 days for drop off, which is unusual, if you're not sure if you're doing it right, you can come, if you come on the first day to drop it off, Tim is quite happy to tell you, would you like to improve your score on this? And he can tell you when you're dropping it off, not after it's ready for judging, but if you're dropping it off, he can say, this was going to get disqualified. You don't have 3 jars. They're not a pound. You can't shoot the beam of light through them. They've got something on them, some label, some marking. You need to do this, and he will talk to people. He loves doing it. So if you're dropping off, especially that first day or the morning of the second day, the second Saturday that you can drop off, and he would probably tell you that about all the different entries. You can ask for advice. So then I have some stuff about the fair itself, but we need to have a meeting just on the fair.
What do they do with the honey once you?
Oh, you get it all back. Oh, that's
Oh, you
important.
do. Oh, okay.
The 3 jars, you get it back, and all that the judges do is just dip a wooden stick into one of the jars only. You're just showing that it wasn't a freak thing, that you could do 3 jars. They dip into one, and I got to do it 1 year, and they taste it. But taste is not the most important part in a lot of ways for the honey judging. It's, did you follow all the instructions? Can you present it well? Does it look good? Clarity. And it's really interesting. It's a lot more about how you enter it. But
Well, that's funny. I thought taste would be the #1 thing, but I guess not.
taste is very, very subjective, though. You go and actually taste that, where it showed the different colors. There are that many types of honey. Do I have it here? Yeah, there's that many different colors. I mean, from a real knotweed here to a true fireweed to things in between that are more blackberry with some other wildflowers. Taste is so subjective that when it gets to best of fair, that's the hardest thing, is you got to decide, oh no, of these top ones in each category, which ones taste the best. And that's a real subjective thing. It's really fun to do this and taste all the different flavors just in Western Washington. It's really fun. And that's why it's kind of limited. I think I might have one more space left. I have to remember who. I know I just said yes to somebody. I want to make sure I don't say yes to more than 3 people unless Tim says we can have more than 3 people. But I don't think so. So, oh, the other thing you can do, and you actually would probably let you taste too, is you can be a runner that helps collect these samples on those 2 Saturdays, particularly in the morning. It really helps to have somebody there who makes sure people fill out the entry form, make sure they leave their name and address. They know how to come back and pick it up. You give them the claim ticket so that they will be able to come back and pick it up. And it's a lot of honey. So yeah, you really should kind of pick it up. You have to pick it up after the fair completely closes, just like you had to drop it off before the fair completely opened. Any questions on that? It's kind of fun. And I want to do one whole meeting for people who want to come just on how we organize the 11-day fair with the booth setup, booth tear down, 3 shifts a day, and try to get 3 people. And we've done pretty well at it, at every single shift, so that you're never alone. You can always take a break and work it out. Whatever works for you. And that's why we have the Sign Up Genius. Okay, did I talk too much already? It is super easy to do. I want to do the pollen. I think that would be the thing that would naturally fall this year. And you can't leave the pollen trap on the hive all the time. but we have enough hives. I was thinking, wait a minute, all I gotta do is collect the pollen at different hives. Cause it should only, the pollen trap should only stay on for 2 or 3 days. But I could move it from hive to hive. I don't think I'd be transmitting disease. I don't think there's any risk of that. It's outside at the entrance of the hive. If so, I can wash it off each time. But could be fun. Anything else? Oh, good. Thanks, Nancy, for signing up. And whatever works, and you can sit down and if you have to be in the shade, we can keep you in the shade. Tim actually needs help at the inside, at the indoor honey booth, and some people have to go sit inside. They can't be out in that much sun. But it depends on the weather. Some years we get rain down. The wind blew the tents over one year. I think ours was okay. Was stable enough that year. Sign up and what works for you. And then we'll have the usual drawing for prizes too. I should probably turn off the recording. And then, like I said, I'll take out anything that looked questionable.